Hey guys, so here begins my hair journey. Actually, no, I actually had my first big chop back in February 2012, and this photo was taken in October of 2013. So this is the following year, and as you could see, I had some big braids, not a whole lot of density going on here, and I think I had about a couple inches, I'd say. You could check out my big chop on my blog. I also have a link to kind of take you through the process. My husband actually cut my hair off. It was a fun experience. All right, so here I am, same time frame, October 2013. I had my son in July of 2013, so that's why I got a whole lot of boob action there. That's the one thing I do miss. Anyway, I digress. So I had sort of like this curly fro thing happening, and this is what my hair looks like at that time. It was really full. It was really thick, but not as full as it should be, actually. So you can kind of see the sides there. My edges are a little bit on the thinner side, and that's something that's to be expected, especially postpartum. And here I am at, again, this is actually a month following. This is November 2nd of 2013. And I was just kind of experimenting with different products and braid outs and things like that. And I had a whole lot of definition, but not really, like, I didn't really know what to do with it at the time. So I would just keep practicing. This is like a month later, December of 2013. I started to see a little bit of length, but if you look closely, I should have probably been trimming my ends at this time. Didn't, which kind of went downhill from there. And as you can see, this is right around the time where I started to lose my hair in December. This is all postpartum shedding, especially in the front of my hair and the nape of my neck. It was extremely depressing. As you could see, didn't have a whole lot of hair. And I expected it because, I mean, if you've been following my blog, I spoke about my postpartum shedding too with my oldest, my daughter, Anastasia. She was born in 2010, and I lost a lot of my hair in the back. So I was seeing some length. I did a little length check here. My hair was like a little bit past my shoulders, and I did have the volume, but it was just like the edges were a problem, and you can kind of see it's really defined. I really didn't have much going on here, and you can kind of see how where it starts, where it ends. And then I started to experiment with different styles, and I started to kind of braid my hair towards the front to cover up the baldness. But the back, again, still remained full. I still was losing some hair in the back. And here I am experimenting again. This was actually a date night, and my hair is extremely short, but I would kind of braid it to the sides to kind of cover it up. And it looks a little bit better here. I try to fluff it out a little bit more. This was around February 2014, so you can kind of see the difference. My hair grew tremendously, but it wasn't really thriving as much as it should have at that time. This is March of 2014, and again, I really started to get a really good handle of my hair and the products it liked and what it disliked. And then not too long after, I began to grow my edges. At this time, I had gone to a dermatologist, and they suggested that I use Rogaine, and so it worked right away. But the thing with Rogaine is that you have to continuously use it, and that was an issue for me. And around this time, it was May 2014, started to get a little volume back. The Rogaine was working, but not for long, because right around this time, I stopped using it again. I probably needed to re-up on my supply, so my edges were struggling a little bit, and naturally I do have thinner edges, but, it was what it was. It is what it is at this time. And around this time, I started to experiment with updos, and this is around June 2014, and I just tried to kind of tuck my ends away. I was like watching on YouTube, and they're like, to protect your hair and retain length and moisture, tuck your hair in, get tuck your ends in. And that's what I would try to do to kind of help preserve the ends and to help promote growth and retain moisture. So it kind of worked, but again, I should have probably been trimming my hair a little bit more. I really didn't, and you can kind of see it here. The ends are a little straggly, not that thin, but it started to get thinner as time wore on. Then I started to experiment with like these curly rods. Rod set it took forever to dry, but here's what it looked like when we were finished after hours upon hours. And honestly, at this time, it was still a little damp, but we had somewhere to be and I had to take it all out. And then it ended up poofing later. And I just found that around this time, braid outs worked much better for me. I got a lot of definition with braid outs. I was able to fluff and kind of go. And I noticed like 2-3 day hair worked. It just looked best. And you can kind of see my hair is actually growing. And I picked up maybe another inch or so. This was taken back in July of 2014. So I'm already 2 years post-relaxer, and I didn't at this time get a trim. I was still holding out, and you can kind of see it. It actually looks pretty good here. And I would kind of just do search and destroy. If I notice anything like kind of hanging, I'll cut it. But that's the extent of my trimming. And my edges were finally coming together. It was still a little thin. And naturally, I do have thinner edges to begin with. And then taking a look at this photo. This is when I finished up my weather certification at Mississippi State University, and I went there. And could you believe, like, I don't know if you've ever been to Mississippi or any of the Gulf states. The Gulf Coast has so much moisture in the summertime, so I was dealing with a whole lot of shrinkage. It's hard to see in this picture, but believe you me, my hair shrunk up quite a bit. And by August, Mississippi State, I actually went there in August, and this photo was also taken in August. And you can kind of see I was trying to experiment with like updos and whatnot, and this actually came out pretty okay. It was my first time doing the bun maker. I was using that at this time to kind of keep my ends tucked in and just experimenting with different styles. But again, I found that the best style for me at the time, and still is now, braid outs. They work so well. That's where I get the most definition, a lot of volume. And here's another look from the back view. The only difference is you can kind of make out that it was time for a trim, but I held out. And there we are, Halloween. This is also 2014 of October. And my hair was so voluminous at this point, but the end started to become a little bit straggly, and I was able to kind of work with what I had. This is November, around Thanksgiving of 2014, and I just love the way my braid turned out. And I started to experiment a little bit with fluffing and getting the volume in. And this is actually December. This day was a little bit on the humid side, so you can kind of see my hair frizzing out a little bit, but I was still happy with it overall. And the following year, in June, I want to say, of 2015, I was really experimenting with different products. I mainly used at this time Kinky Curly Knot Today. That was a staple. And also Shea Moisture, the Curl Enhancing Smoothies, I think is what I used on this day. And I got a lot of definition, but the fluff wasn't there. And you can kind of see the end started to really become thin. And I noticed that this was the beginning of my hair really, really thinning at the ends. But I held out, and here I am at a blog conference in the city, Manhattan, 2015, July. And I really love the way my hair turned out here. And as a matter of fact, I got a lot of compliments this day. It was really, really nice. But again, if you look, my hair is like really thinning at the ends. And the same deal here. I was getting a lot of volume. This is also around 2015, summertime. And it really, really started to become voluminous. I noticed the roots were really thick, so my hair was growing. It was just like it was losing a volume towards the end of my hair. And this photo was taken in December of 2015. And the same deal. I mean, again, experimenting with different products. I think at this time I was probably using Beautiful Textures. I can't even remember the name of it, but I noticed a little bit of a difference, a little bit more in the way of definition, but still, it was a struggle, and the struggle's real. And then here, my face looks funny. Okay, my expression is not the greatest, but I look at my edges. My edges really started to come together here. I was really working on it. I think I was using Rogaine again. And like I said, if you're using Rogaine, it's one of those things you have to continue to use to get results. And I just couldn't keep up. This is March of 2016, and this was Easter. And you could kind of see my hair really starting to become thin. And this is around the same time. And you can really see I started to gain length, but thinning. Here it is again, especially that front twist out that you see there. You can kind of see how thin it is. I had the length, but the thinness was there. So half of the strand, like part of my hair was thick and full, and the rest of it was just so super thin. And I refused to go to a hairdresser. I was just not feeling it. I was not ready for a trim. And this was April 2016. And I just love the volume near the roots. But then at the ends, again, it's like really, really thin. And I was just saying to myself, and after much thought, I said, okay, it's time for me to go to the hairdresser and do something about this. So about, I'd say, January, that's the following January of 2017 was the first time. So 5 years post-relaxer was when I decided to go to the hairdresser to get a trim. And you can see my hair is actually touching the couch or the chair that I'm sitting in, but you can barely see it because the ends are so thin. So I ended up getting my first trim, and I got a first blowout, and it really looked nice. I mean, my ends weren't as see-through anymore. I was happy with it. They even gave me a nice little curl, and overall it was like much needed trim. And then I noticed a lot of volume again, so my hair was starting to thrive again. And this picture, this is significant because this is actually the last day my husband and I had any meat or chicken or any of that. We decided to go vegan not too long after. This is in 2017. I forget what month it is, May 2017 to be exact. So it was around, I want to say Memorial Day. And we had a nice little barbecue, and that was it. And then fast forward to September 2017. I got another trim. My hair looked great, and I got a lot of that volume back. And then later on that year, in November of 2017, I noticed a lot of volume. I was able to put my hair in a ponytail. I did a tension blowout here and followed by a braid out. It really looked cute. And the following year, this is April. It was around Easter. My hair was really full. I was really happy with it at this time. Played around with some braid out updo styles. So I really liked the way it looked with a swoop bang. And then it's back. The cycle begins, and it continues where I had to get a trim. This is August of 2018. And then once I got that trim, it was like that cycle again, trying to retain that length. I got maybe a couple of trims. I think here, this is around, okay, that was August. I think this was around spring. And I had gotten another trim, did a braid out, was happy with it. But I noticed my trims were getting shorter and shorter, and that was because I couldn't retain any length. This was like another trim that I had gotten. So even though I was post-relaxer for about, I don't know, I'm losing track here. This is like 2018, 2019. And I was still struggling. And now I'm at a point where I continue to try my best to just retain that length, play around with it. I'm using different products. I'm back to where I began with that shoulder length hair. And my edges are back. I'm experimenting with new styles. This is what my braid out looks like now. So my hair is a lot fuller, more defined when I do my braid outs. I have my edges back. I'm also dealing with a little bit more grays, but hey, the journey continues. It's a marathon, as they say, certainly not a sprint. And I will keep you posted on how I'm doing. And please let me know in the comments below how you're doing in your natural hair journey. And if you have any tips or advice you want, sharing is caring. See you in the next one. Bye.